This program presents general rigging guidelines. There are 8 sections in this video program. After each section, questions about that section will appear on the screen. We encourage you to try and think of the correct answer before it is shown. The questions are based on what API and qualified crane operators expect you to know in order to assess whether your rigging skills are competent and safe. Let's get started with a look at rigging loads. For the next few minutes, we'll cover the basics of proper rigging, including slings and shackles.
In order to hoist a load with a crane, you must rig the load properly. As the crane operator, you are responsible for assuring that the load is properly rigged before it is lifted. Of course, proper rigging involves the use of wire rope slings or nylon straps, as well as hooks, eyes, and shackles. These items are subject to heavy wear and require frequent inspection. Never use a load line for a sling or wrap it around the load. This could cause damage to the load line. When the slings aren't in use, they must be properly stored in order to prevent premature wear and corrosion. It is not uncommon for slings to become damaged, so inspect each sling before use, and do not use slings with knots or kinks because they can fail at any time without warning. Here are some more guidelines and precautions when using slings. Always use slings of proper length and breaking strength. Never use a sling that does not have an attached WLL tag. This tag identifies the maximum working lift load of the sling. Loads should never be lifted with one leg of a multi-leg sling, unless the legs not in use are secured. Never use fiber rope. It isn't strong enough. Use tag lines instead of your back to control the load. One more thing. To avoid the possibility of an unattended tag line getting caught in equipment or guardrails, never put a knot at the end of a tag line. Perhaps the most frequently used hitch is a bridle hitch. These hitches utilize 2 or more sling legs of equal length. One end of each leg is connected to the ring. The other end can either have sliding choker hooks, eye hooks, or plain hooks. A bridle is formed, giving excellent load stability for several reasons. The load weight is distributed equally among all the legs, the block is directly over the center of gravity of the load, and the load is raised level. If necessary, you can adjust the leg lengths or move the point each leg is attached to the load to assure that the load is lifted evenly. When using a bridle, the further the sling legs are away from vertical, the less the sling can lift. As sling angle increases, tension on the sling leg also increases. Special precautions must be taken when rigging personnel baskets. Personnel baskets should only be connected to auxiliary hooks which are equipped with a positive locking safety latch, like this one. Wire rope slings, nylon straps, or Radigan hooks should never be connected to a personnel basket.
Now let's see what you remember about rigging loads.
Who is responsible for assuring that the load is properly rigged? The crane operator, the person rigging the load, the foreman. That's right. True or false? Slings should not be inspected before each use. Correct. Click on the sling which should not be used. That's right. Which of the following is true? A. Never use a tag line. B. Always use a tag line which has a knot in the end so that it will not slip out of your hand. C. Only use a tag line which is free of knots. That's right. When should a choker hitch be pulled tight? A. Before the lift is made. B. While the load is being lifted. C. Only when the load is suspended. That's right. When using a bridle, the sling can lift more weight if the legs are vertical. True or false? That's right. To prevent a load from being crushed, use A. Choker hitch, B. Spreader bar, C. Basket hitch. That's right. What is the best hitch to use to lift this 1,000-pound load? A. Just wrap the hoist line around the load. B. A choker hitch. C. A multi-part sling. D. A spreader bar. That's right. A multi-part sling is the way to go because this provides the safest and most stable attachment. Click on the shackle that should be used when the sling is to be used often and on several different loads. Good work! Click on the fitting which should only be used for a vertical lift. That's right. Eye hooks should only be used for vertical lifts. Now let's get ready for a personnel lift. Click on the hook which should be used to lift personnel. Main hook, any hook that works, auxiliary hook with a proper latch. That's right. Only the auxiliary hook with the proper safety latch may be used to lift personnel. Click on the approved personnel carrier. That's right. Only approved personnel baskets may be used to move people.
In this section, we'll cover basic communication issues with crew members who are helping rig loads, as well as the standard hand signals.
Whenever a lift is being made, hand signals must be used to assist the crane operator unless electronic voice communication equipment, such as radios or telephones, are in use. Everyone involved in crane operations must stay in communication with each other. All signals should be audible or visible at all times. As the operator of the crane, don't respond to a signal unless the signal is clearly understood. If you have any questions about the signal, all crane motion must be stopped and no operation resumed until the signal is fully understood. Over the years, you may have developed your own signals, or you may need to use special signals for specific situations that are not covered by the standard signals. This is okay, as long as each of the signals are agreed upon by both the crane operator and signal person. The only prerequisite you must follow is to make sure these new signals aren't in conflict with standard signals that could cause any confusion by either party. Remember, the crane operator is responsible for assuring that the signals are agreed upon and understood. The signal person must always be positioned in clear view of the operator at all times to ensure signals can be seen. They must direct loads to avoid passing over personnel and ensure that unnecessary personnel are kept outside of the crane's area of operation. Remember, take signals from one person only. In some cases, a second signal person must be used to relay signals to the operator. The operator should obey only the signals from the designated signal person. There is one exception to this rule. If you see anyone, no matter who they are, give you a stop signal or emergency stop signal, obey it without question. Stop all crane operations and don't resume operations until the problem is resolved. Here are the 8 standard approved hand signals for use during crane operations. Raise the hoist. With the forearm vertical, forefinger pointing up, the hand is moved in a small horizontal circle. Lower the hoist. With the arm extended downward, forefinger pointed down, the hand is moved in small horizontal circles. Move slowly. To indicate move up slowly, point the forefinger up and place the palm of the other hand above the forefinger. To indicate move slowly down, point the finger down and place the palm of the other hand under the finger. Raise the boom. With an extended arm, fingers closed, the thumb is pointed upward. Lower the boom. The arm is extended, fingers closed, and the thumb pointing downward. Swing the boom. The arm is extended and index finger pointed in the desired direction. Emergency stop. With both arms extended and pointing downward, the arms are moved rapidly up and down. Dog everything. The hands are clasped in front of the body.
Okay, time to review the basics of communication.
Okay, let's check your knowledge of crane operations communication. When should hand signals be made? A. All the time. B. Never. C. When electronic voice communication equipment such as radios or telephones are not being used. Good work! If you have any questions about a signal, what should you do first? A. Stop the crane immediately. B. Ask the signal person to clarify. C. Switch to walkie-talkies. Good work! Under what conditions may non-standard hand signals be used? A. Each of the signals has been agreed upon by both crane operator and signal person. B. Extreme weather situations. C. These new signals aren't in conflict with standard signals that could cause any confusion by either party. D. A and C. That's right. Who is ultimately responsible for the signal person's actions? A. The crane operator. B. The deckhand. C. The signal person. D. The supervisor. That's right. The crane operator is responsible for all aspects of crane operation. When should the crane operator respond to a signal from someone other than the designated signal person? A. At any time. B. When given the hoist signal. C. If given an emergency stop signal. Good job! Here's another opportunity to demonstrate your knowledge. As each signal is demonstrated, click on the name of the signal. Good luck! That's right. That was the swing signal. That's right. That was the raising the hoist signal. Good job! That was the move hoist slowly up signal. That's right. That was the dog everything signal. That's right. That was the raise the boom signal. Very good. That was the emergency stop signal. Remember, act on this signal when it is given from anyone. Very good. Very good. That was the lower the boom signal. Good job!
In this next section, we'll discuss inspection, replacement, and critical factors affecting wire rope.
The single most important operational check on hoisting and rigging equipment is the inspection of wire rope. Using the right type of wire rope is important, but just as important are factors such as abrasion, wear, fatigue, corrosion, improper reeving around the drum or sheave, and kinking. Records should be kept of rope use, and a good practice is to simply replace rope after a designated number of hours of use, regardless of condition. However, operators have the final say regarding deterioration and safe usage. All ropes should be examined for conditions which make them extremely susceptible to failure. It is only by inspection that potential hazards can be detected and incidents avoided. When inspecting a rope, the user must make two decisions. 1. Does the rope's condition present any possibility of failure? And 2. Is the rate of rope deterioration such that it will remain in safe condition until the next scheduled inspection? The exact time to replace a wire rope cannot be determined by a simple test or set of rules because there are many variables involved. Safe use of wire rope depends largely on good judgment by the operator and competent maintenance personnel. However, running rope must be replaced if there are 6 or more randomly distributed broken wires in one rope lay, or if there are 3 or more broken wires in one strand in one rope lay. Rotation-resistant ropes must be replaced if there are 4 broken wires in one rope lay or if there are 2 broken wires in one strand. On pendants or standing ropes, if there are 3 or more broken wires in one rope lay, then the rope must be replaced. If there is a broken wire near an attached fitting, the rope should be replaced or an attachment renewal should take place. When making a new attachment, cut off 6 to 8 feet of rope above the fitting. As the result of normal deterioration, the outer wires become flat on the outside. Replacement is warranted when more than 1/3 of the original diameter of the outside wires of the strand are worn. Reduction in rope diameter is caused by excessive abrasion of the outside wires, loss of core support, internal or external corrosion, inner wire failures, or a loosening of the rope lay. This table shows you when to replace ropes of certain diameters. This diagram shows the right and wrong ways to measure the diameter of wire rope. Some stretching of rope is normal. However, a noticeable lengthening of rope lay or a reduction in rope diameter is a sign of severe stretch, which is generally caused by rope overloading or a loss of strength due to age. 6-stranded ropes can stretch up to 6 inches per 100 feet before they have to be replaced. An 8-stranded rope must be replaced when there is more than 10 inches of stretch per 100 feet of rope. Corrosion can be more dangerous than wear because it frequently develops inside the rope before any evidence is seen on the surface. Signs of corrosion are discoloration or glittering. The internal saturated core of the rope usually lubricates the rest of the rope. However, over time, the lubrication either dries out or squeezes out. Using a tool designed for the task, check the grooves between the strands for proper lubrication. If fittings are corroded, cracked, bent, worn, or improperly applied, they must be replaced. When wire rope is removed from service as unfit, it must be identified and marked. It must never be used again on cranes, slings, or other load-carrying devices. Replacement rope should be of the same diameter, length, construction, and grade as originally furnished or recommended by the crane or rope manufacturer. If replacement rope is other than which was originally furnished, all load rating charts must be reviewed and changed if necessary. Internal and external corrosion can be minimized by regular lubrication of wire rope. The best time to apply lubrication in order to obtain maximum penetration is when the rope passes over a sheave. Use only lubrication recommended by the manufacturer. Used oil should never be used as a lubricant. The ways to lubricate a rope are as follows. Pour oil onto the rope as it passes over a sheave, wiping off excess. Apply grease to the rope by hand. Swab the rope when not in motion with oil-soaked rags. Brush or spray the rope with oil or by pressure lubrication. All wire rope that is stored should be placed in a covered, well-ventilated area. If a covered area is not available, it is very important to keep the rope lubricated. All exposed rope in the hoist system should also be lubricated. For cranes that will be out of service for long periods of time, all wire rope should receive proper lubrication.
Okay, let's check your knowledge about wire rope maintenance.
On running ropes, such as a hoist line, the rope must be replaced if blank or more wire are broken in one rope lay. A, 2, B, 4, C, 6, D, 8. That's right. if there is only one broken wire near a fitting, should the rope be used before it is repaired? Good. Click on the correct method of measuring the diameter of wire rope. Good. True or false? Wire rope should be replaced at the first sign of stretch. That's right. When inspecting a wire rope, what should you look for? A. Grooves between the strands for lubrication. B. Signs of corrosion. C. Flat spots. D. All of the above. Very good. When a wire rope has been removed from service because it is unfit for use, what should you do? A. Store it for later use. B. Identify and mark the rope. C. Throw it over the side. That's right. When is a good time to lubricate a wire rope? A. During an electrical storm. B. As it passes over a sheave. C. During every pre-use inspection. D. When the boss says so. E. B, and D. Very good. True or false? If the rope on a sling is in good condition, but the fitting is cracked or bent, the sling should be used. Very good. True or false? There is no reason to lubricate wire rope on a crane which is about to be placed out of service for a long period of time. Good.
Now it's time to take a look at general safety guidelines.
The following are pre-operational safety precautions. These guidelines are designed to help prevent incidents. As a qualified operator, you are expected to be aware of these precautions. Do not refuel a crane while the engine is running, and always have a fire extinguisher on hand and know how to use it. Keep floors and work areas clean. You'll work more efficiently in a clean and uncluttered environment. As the crane operator, you are responsible for assuring that the rigger is qualified for the job. The following are operational safety precautions that need to be observed while making a lift. Don't hoist 2 or more separate loads in one lift. This can damage the crane. Keep your hands off moving rope. Never, and I mean never, lift a load above personnel. Use the swing brake when crane is in idle or holding loads for a period of time, especially during gusty winds or heavy seas. Watch the load or designated signal person at all times. Watch out for centrifugal force when swinging. Swinging slowly enough to prevent outward movement of the load and minimize the pendulum action of the hook and suspended load. Even on a dare, never permit anyone to ride the load or the hook. Never use boom stops, which are used to warn the operator that he's approaching minimum radius, to absorb minor shocks if the boom hoist kickout system fails. When 2 or more cranes are used to lift one load, only one qualified operator will be responsible for the operation and instruct all other personnel on the proper positioning, rigging, and load movements. Crane operations must cease when a helicopter is taking off or landing. During periods of bad weather where the operator's ability to see is impaired, crane operations can be restricted at the operator's discretion.
Now let's review what you've just seen regarding operational safety.
When should you use the swing brake? A. When the crane is idle for a long period. B. When a load is suspended for a long period. C. When it's windy or with high seas. D. All of the above. Yes, you're right. When is it safe to walk under a load? A. In an emergency. B. Never. C. When the load is suspended. D. When the load is moving. That's right. When the crane is idle, you should A. Lower the boom. B. Secure the boom on the boom rest. C. Suspend the load. D. A and B. That's right. True or false? In poor weather conditions, crane operations can be restricted at the discretion of the crane operator. Very good. You've completed this section.
We'll now cover several aspects of operating procedures, beginning with the things that are important prior to making a lift.
There are certain conditions that must be met before lifting a load. First, at the start of the day's crane operations, a pre-use inspection must be made. In addition, all maintenance and repairs must be complete before any load is lifted. Next, verify that all load charts are in place and check the minimum boom angle for the load being lifted. Do not move a load until all load ratings have been calculated and the boom set properly for the load. Do not operate the crane at boom angles or load radius beyond the range of the load chart, and of course, choose the proper hoist. Then, assure that all rigging has been inspected, that the load is free and properly rigged. If you've chosen the main hoist, be sure the line parts are not twisted around each other. Tangled wire ropes can cause headaches later on. Now, make sure the hook is brought over the load in a smooth manner to minimize swinging. Before you hook on the load, make sure the rope is properly seated on the drum and in all sheaves. Okay, you're ready to lift, so make sure you can see your signal person before starting. You should not move the crane until the signal person gives the proper signal.
Okay, let's take a moment here and go over the basics of pre-lift procedures.
What must be done prior to lifting a load? A. Pre-use inspection. B. Maintenance and repairs completed. C. Load charts verified and load rating calculated. D. All of the above. Correct. It is best to minimize what action when moving the hook to the load? A. Hoisting. B. Swinging. C. Booming up. D. None of the above. Good work. You shouldn't move the crane until A. A signal person is in your sight. B. A signal person gives a proper signal. C. A secondary signal person is in your sight if primary is obstructed. D. All of the above. That's right.
We'll continue our look now at operating procedures with those things that are critical during a lift.
During the lift, you must follow some basic guidelines. Remain alert to any unusual noises, slow or erratic controls, or any signs of power loss. Plan each lift in advance, ensuring that the entire swing path and load drop area is clear of obstructions. Keep an eye on all gauges, especially engine oil pressure, water temperature, and hydraulic pressure. If there are any abnormal readings, stop all operations, secure the boom, and shut down the engine. If helicopter landings or departures occur at any time during a lift, stop the crane immediately and step outside the cab. Stay there until the helicopter has landed or is clear of the platform and well on its way. The helicopter beacon should be on during all crane operations. Even though the crane is strong and massive, it responds best to finesse. Use smooth control movements to accelerate and decelerate the crane gradually. Smooth control inputs are necessary to control the crane safely. When hoisting the load, avoid sudden starts and stops, which could cause the load and the boom to bounce. Be aware of windy conditions. Bulky loads and low boom angles are particularly affected by high winds. Especially with heavy loads, it's a good idea to lift the load a few inches off the deck at first to check the brakes. Also, look at the boom angle indicator to assure that it remains in a safe range for the load. Be aware that sudden control input can cause changes in lifting dynamics. Move smoothly, not suddenly. When landing the load, do it gently to avoid shock loading. And when operating near minimum radius, boom down as you lower the load to reduce the tendency of the boom to move backwards as the load is released. After landing the load, Make sure that the load line is completely detached from the load and that the slings will not catch on anything when the hook block is swung away.
Now let's review what we've just covered about the critical elements of performing a lift.
At a minimum, what should you do when helicopter operations occur during a lift? A. Continue lifting carefully. B. Turn on the helicopter beacon. C. Suspend all crane operations and stand outside the cab until the helicopter is well clear. D. Perform an emergency shutdown. Yes, that's right. When hoisting a load, you should avoid A. Sudden starts, B. Smooth acceleration, C. A clear load path, D. Smooth deceleration. That's right. After landing a load, what should you do? A. Assure that the load line is completely detached from the load before raising the hook. B. Get the hook out of the way as soon as it's safe. C. Idle the engine so it can cool. D. A and B. Good work.
In this section, we'll examine dynamic lifts.
There are two basic types of lifts, static and dynamic. Static lifts are made from one stationary surface to another. Lifts made from or onto a moving structure are called dynamic lifts. Dynamic lifts require more skill than static lifts because of the possibility of dynamic shock. Dynamic shock is any sudden tension on the wire rope and is caused typically by the boat going down in a wave trough in rough seas. To perform a dynamic lift, use the boom, swing, and load functions to keep the load line vertical. Lower the hook so that it is over the water and not the boat. When the hook is just high enough to clear the load, move the hook over the boat or convince the boat captain to move under the hook. Once the boat is stabilized in position, operate the crane to bring the hook over the load. The deck crew should first remove the slings from the hook and then attach the slings to the load. Move the hook to a safe distance until the sling is attached. Then move the hook over the load so that the sling can be reattached to the hook. This method is easier and safer than trying to attach the sling to the load while the sling is still connected to the hook. Take up slack smoothly at the low point of the wave period and make the lift as the vessel rides up on the wave. Your signal person should help you by giving the lift signal as the boat begins its upward movement. Once the load is off the vessel, swing the load away from the boat into the wind if possible, and continue the lift onto the platform using safe landing methods. Here is the 4-step method to land a load on a vessel. Once the load is off the platform, make sure it is under control before attempting the landing. If possible, swing the load into the wind to keep greater control. Lower the load over the water. Select a landing point on the vessel that is clear of any obstructions and personnel. Then lower the load above the water to a height that will allow clearance to the deck and swing the load over the boat, or instruct the boat captain to move the boat into position. Land the load while the vessel deck is riding down on the wave. Slacken the rope enough so the line won't tighten at the bottom of the wave period. When lifting personnel, it's important to follow all safety precautions. Everyone being hoisted should have on a proper personnel flotation device. Stand on the outer ring and face inward, holding on to the ropes as shown. Dunking the basket or other horseplay is extremely dangerous and forbidden. Lower the carrier to the boat using the safe dynamic lift procedure. Take up the slack on the hoist line, instruct the rigger to signal you, and raise the basket when the boat is at the bottom of a wave trough and riding up a wave. Raise the personnel carrier only high enough to clear the deck of the ship. If a tag line is used on personnel baskets, care should be given to make sure that the line is not knotted or tied to something. Then, swing the carrier over the water. If it's not possible to swing over water, have the vessel move from under the carrier. With personnel on board the basket, it's very important to minimize swinging. To land the personnel basket, position the carrier over the deck and lower it smoothly and gently to the deck.
Okay, let's check your memory on dynamic lifts.
True or false? The hook should be lowered over a vessel and never while over the water. That's right. When should a load be lifted off a boat deck? A. Only on calm days. B. While the boat rides down on a wave. C. While the boat rides up on a wave. D. All of the above. That's correct. When should you land a personnel basket or other load on a vessel? A. Only on calm days. B. While the boat rides down on a wave. C. While the boat rides up on a wave. D. All of the above. That's correct. Why is it advisable to lift a load, especially heavy ones, a few inches off the deck before continuing the lift? A. To weigh the load. B. To test the wire rope. C. To test the boom strength. D. To see if the brakes will hold. That's right. What should you avoid when landing a load? A. Sudden stops. B. Shock loading. C. People or obstructions. D. All of the above. That's correct. What should you do once the load has landed? A. Ensure the load line is completely detached. B. Prevent slings from catching on anything. C. A and B. D. None of the above. Good. What is the easiest way to hook up a load? A. Do it yourself. B. Attach sling to load, then hook to sling. C. Attach hook to sling, then sling to load. Good work.
In this final section, we'll cover the things that should be done before leaving the crane cab after a lift.
A qualified operator never leaves the cab before making sure the crane is safe and secure. Here are recommended guidelines for completing crane operation safely. Lower all loads to the deck. Never leave loads suspended when not in the cab. Lower the boom and secure it on the boom rest. Always confirm that no crane components will interfere with helicopter operations. Always allow the engine to idle a couple of minutes before using the engine shutdown switch. Use the emergency shutdown control only in an emergency. Engage the swing brake, locking the crane in place. Put all controls in the off or neutral position. Before leaving the cab, protect the controls and gauges from salt air by closing all windows, doors, and covers.
All right, time for a final review.
Before leaving the cab, you should A. Lower all loads to the deck. B. Lower boom and secure to boom rest. C. Engage swing brake and put all controls in off or neutral position. D. All of the above. Good work. Why should you close cab windows, doors, and covers before leaving? A. To prevent damage from salt air. B. To keep the sea out. C. To keep annoying seagulls from roosting. D. To prevent theft. Good work. True or false? You should allow the engine to idle for a couple of minutes before shutting it down. Good work.
That concludes our general overview of rigging. Thanks for watching.